Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. In today's review, Alex takes a deep dive into the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 31387 iconic pirate ship. He explores the clever building techniques, the functions, and of course all alternate builds. He also compares it to the previous Creator 3-in-1 pirate ship to see how the design has evolved over the past few years, and whether LEGO has managed to improve on an already popular model. I'll let Alex take it from here, enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Alex from RacingBrick. Today I'm going to be looking at this. Set number 31387 Creator 3-in-1 Iconic Pirate Ship, which costs $110 and contains 1,074 pieces. The quite substantial box is in the standard 3-in-1 layout, with the main model in the centre on the front, with the secondaries shown to the side, and then all three sharing equal space larger on the back. Appropriately, this is a telescope-style box with a separate lid and tray. This set is notable because it replaces the very well-regarded 31109 pirate ship, which was discontinued in December 2025. I do have a copy of that, so we'll take a look at them sailing together later. In the box we get 9 plastic bags, as well as a special bag for flexible tubes and 2 white plates, as well as the pack of instructions. The alternate builds look really excellent, and I'm excited to look at them. Bag 1 is quite small and notably red because it contains the sole side build, this menacing and extremely vivid red octopus. This curved slope used to form the back of his head is new for 2026, and amusingly, its only other appearance is in the Botanicals Tulip set, which contains 6 of them, as well as 24 more in various other colours. I also like the use of a life ring to surround his bright green eyes, very nautical. With the octopus done, let's take a look at the minifigures. I like them a lot. All 4 are unique to this set. The quality of the printing is excellent, specifically with the female pirate in the dual moulded tricorn hat. She gets teal leg printing as well as golden buckles and a compass around her neck. Underneath her hat she has an alternate face, which makes it look like she's squinting to line up a shot with her pistol. The second female pirate has a sleeveless shirt with a huge belt buckle emblazoned with a skull. Her alternate face is less confident than the sharpshooter, as she seems to be screaming in terror. Her neckerchief being Black Seas Barracuda red and white is a nice touch. Neither of the male pirates have alternate face prints, but they're still full of character. The captain wears a printed bicorn hat, has the classic pirate peg leg, and a shiny key attached to his back. He also comes with an empty bottle and pearl gold goblet. Hopefully, he's got some rum stored away somewhere, because we've only just started the video. The last crew member has exclusive dual moulded legs and another stellar print with rips and tears in his shirt showing skin underneath. The printing and colour matching looks fantastic, which is great to see given how often LEGO struggles with colour. The ripped shirt shows 2 tattoos on his chest, an anchor, which means he has sailed across the Atlantic, and a compass, which doesn't seem to have any specific meaning other than good luck. He has an octopus logo on his back, which is a little on the nose given his current predicament. Bag 2 begins the ship proper, specifically the gun deck. The ports are covered with these pearl gold doors, which look fantastic against the dark reddish brown. There's a lot of pearl gold in this set, as you'll see. Once this block is completed, you can see a clever trick the designer has used. This is a 10 by 12 stud shape, almost a square, so to make sure you don't accidentally install it backwards, the front has yellow accents, the back has blue accents, and satisfyingly, port and starboard are red and green. Remember, there's some port left in the glass, and port is a type of red wine. That's how I remember it, at least. Constructing the bow is very satisfying with these layered and stacked curved slopes. Obviously a real ship would be made from wooden planks and beams, so this layered look is realistic in a chunky way. Once the front third is complete, it snaps to the midsection with 2 pins, and is then strengthened with plates and tiles across the join. The stern of the ship is much the same, though with a cavity at the very back for a play feature we'll check out later. With all 3 segments together, we get a good idea of the size of the ship. Bag 5 adds more strength across the joints, and starts adding detail to the deck. Axles for the masts go through these 2x2 round donut tiles. Now the forecastle deck is in place, we flip it over to add, appropriately, boat tiles. To borrow a scale modelling term, this is a waterline model, meaning the keel, which would normally be below water, is omitted. This contrasts with something like the recent Black Pearl, which sits on a stand so it doesn't tip over. Of course, this is an obvious choice with this model because it's designed to be played with. I hope I'm using boat words like forecastle and keel correctly. I get seasick, so I'm more of a car guy. If I make any nautical mistakes, let me know in the comments. In Bag 6, we build the rudder and this brilliant little play feature. We can hide a treasure chest behind the stern post. The chest contains a ruby, a diamond, and 3 coins, though they aren't a patch on the vacuum metallized gold coins of the past. The set contains spares for both gems, so I put them in too, just for fun. It fits in snug and uses one of the click hinge to clip connections we see occasionally, which holds it securely but is easy to remove. Back on deck, we start building the captain's cabin. The angled walls are achieved with hinge plates, and there's a ton of detail in the walls. I especially love the skulls, built with only 3 pieces, one of which being pearl gold. It's clearly wearing an eye patch and also a bandana, which is just adorable. I also really appreciate when there's clearly a way for a minifigure to access to space too, even if it's just a simple archway like this, or the ladder to the right of it. The back wall has gold lattices forming windows and even more detailing, including pearl gold lanterns and black trim around the deck, which I think is the quarterdeck? This is also where we get the helm, or ship's wheel. This piece has been used a couple of times as a ship's wheel now. I like that a minifigure can actually hold onto it. Tons of great posing and play potential there. At last, we move below deck and add a pair of cannon. 2 of these classic pieces in beautiful pearl dark grey. I know this isn't the exact same part from the 90s, but it does look the same and it is wonderfully nostalgic. Especially since I grew up in the UK, where Lego cannon were actually allowed to fire. Luckily, nowadays, America allows spring-loaded ones, and it's brilliant fun to shoot things. Unfortunately, despite having gun ports on both sides of the hull, the ship isn't wide enough to have 4 guns, so you have to reach in and flip them around if you want to shoot something on the other side. The gun deck is covered up with a tan lattice, and you can lift it off with this capstan. And by clipping their hands to it, minifigs can be posed as if they're hoisting something. This negates the lack of studs on the lattice piece, and there are plenty in front and behind, and on the gunnels to stand more figures on. The first of the brick-built sails is the jib at the front. Since they're not fabric, all of the sails attach with regular pins and clips. I'm personally a big fan of fabric in sets because it adds texture which can't really be achieved with bricks. See my previous review of the Jurassic Park Jeep where I praised the fabric roof. However, I can appreciate why this set uses brick-built sails, as fabric would severely limit the 3-in-1 appeal, and the white bricks are used to great effect in the alt builds, as we will see towards the end of the video. It also gives an opportunity for a superb brick-built detail. This amazing and adorable skull and crossbones built from tiles. With those in place, the ship is complete. I really like this set. It's about a foot tall, which is suitably intimidating, and the crew of 4 living and 1 dead feels like it fills out the ship nicely. Being able to fire the cannon and hide the treasure provides plenty of play potential for the intended audience. I was talking about it with a friend and we both agreed that had we received this set aged 9 or 10, we would have been ecstatic. Let's go over some details. The consistent colour scheme is very much appreciated. Black and gold trim feels classy and understated, and it pushes your focus to the stellar minifigures, which are all colourful and fun. The bow stem being a combination of curved black slopes which smoothly transition to the sprit is beautiful. The anchor is oversized, but since it's on a working chain winch, it needs to be durable, so you can drop anchor without fear of small pieces flying off in all directions, like you might if it were brick built. The rubber tubes going up to the yards represent a chunky version of the rigging, and since they have handles going all the way up, it allows even more posability with the minifigures. Obviously, due to the relatively small size of the set, it's not going to have the interior detail of a modular building, but the captain's cabin does have a place to hang his swords, a little writing desk, and a chair to sit on. While building, I wondered why the chair only had 1 stud, but now I realise it's to accommodate his peg leg. It's not all perfect though. As you can see, the ceiling in the cabin isn't tall enough to accommodate the captain's hat with the feather. LEGO's solution on the back of the box is that the feather can be removed and used as a quill pen. As annoying as it is, I quite like this idea, and it's funny to imagine the captain sitting down to write in his journal and pulling the feather out of his hat to do so. The brick-built sails also really lend themselves to being viewed from only one side. There's a seemingly pointless minifigure backplate on the main mast, and a gap above this grey bushing at the top. It's there on the box, so I didn't make a mistake. I think it must be to precisely control the height of the mast and allow the rubber rigging to fit without putting it under tension. Lifting the lid off the gun deck reveals some unsightly colours, which helped while building, but are ugly and unappealing when visible in the finished product. There also isn't enough headroom to stand a minifig down here and put the grate back on. It's irritating, but it's not a deal breaker. Since the minifigures are so cool, you'll want them above deck anyway. Oh, I almost forgot about the octopus. I'm not the biggest fan, if I'm honest. He feels a little superfluous, and he can't really interact much with the ship or crew. I think he just wants to be left alone. So it's a good set, but before we disassemble it for the alt builds, we have to compare it to the last Creator pirate ship LEGO produced. Much to my surprise, the old one is bigger. It's taller and longer by about 6 centimeters, but most notably, the hull is about 3 centimeters wider, which means it can actually fit 4 cannon, though it only came with 2 in the box. Other than the size, they are very similar sets, even down to the skeleton in the crow's nest and the skull made of tiles on the foresail. However, size isn't everything. The old set feels a little incoherent next to the new. It has a smattering of clashing colours, red and green mixed in with the pearl gold. There are extra details which I like, such as the mermaid figurehead or the gangplank, which admittedly is very funny to put figures on, but is also just an ugly 2x6 plate sticking out the side. But the shaping isn't nearly as nice. It looks fat, and it gets too wide too quickly. There's no lid for the gun deck either, which leaves a great big hole in the centre of the ship, and limits where you can actually put the minifigs. Speaking of those figures, there's one fewer, and the ones included aren't a patch on the newer crew. The captain is cool, but the other 2 are just generic crewmates without the personality of the new set. Same with the rigging. The old set has 2 extra lines going to the flagpole at the stern, but none of them have handholds for the minifigures to grip. See how it's a lateral step, not a direct improvement or decline. It's difficult to put into words. The old one is just messy. I admit I'm probably looking at it from an adult perspective, and to a child, this is all just more space to play. However, I must admit that I like the shark far more than the octopus. It feels right to have a shark chasing down ne'er-do-wells and mutineers after they walk the plank. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the shark in my storage, so you'll just have to imagine a minifigure being brutally mauled. Amazingly, the new set is actually $10 cheaper than the old one, not adjusting for inflation. That explains the 200 fewer pieces, and it makes the new one look like a decent value. I'd say it's a worthy successor, and a marginally better set. But it isn't so much better that you should immediately go out and buy a copy to replace your old ship. However, if you're lucky enough to have a large enough space, having both of these on display in a naval warfare scene does look absolutely epic. And they're different enough that it doesn't look like a mirror match. Great stuff. Let's start with the side builds. The first one is a matching pair of small boats, red versus blue. This is definitely a parent-approved build. Talking as someone with a sibling very close in age, a toy which involved both of us was a valuable commodity. These little boats are a pretty good size, and since there are 4 minifigures and 2 cannon in the set, each boat gets 2 crewmates and a gun each. The instructions show the treasure chest belonging to red, but it also fits on blue in the same place. Nice touch. Speaking of blue, I guess they actually have 3 crewmates, since our buddy the crow's nest skeleton has been built directly into the bow. I hope he's a figurehead made from wood, or this is probably the most grisly LEGO set ever released. I was a little confused what this extending arm was supposed to be, but I now realise it's probably a boarding ramp. Get close enough to the other boat and you can send your toughest guy to go grab the treasure chest. Something both boats have in common with the main build is the brick-built insignia on the sails. Blue gets a skull with an eye patch and red gets a skull with a bandana. They look fantastic, and the decor makes them feel connected to the main build in a way. Like these are sloops in the same fleet as the main build's brigantine. I don't have much more to say about the little ships really. I like that they're built slightly differently, but that might have been inevitable since they're alt builds. It's definitely fun to shoot at each other with the cannon, even though it's a great way to lose your 1x1 round bricks. Good builds, but not a patch on the main ship. The second alt build is much more interesting to me. It's a settlement with a shack and a tower built onto a rocky outcropping. It's reminding me pretty strongly of Sabre Island, which is definitely a good thing. The build is relatively simple, but it has a ton of personality. It's split into two halves, with one side being the hut and the other being a cave filled with treasure underneath the lookout tower. The wooden side has some fantastic detail, with a blue, black and gold colour scheme, and the same skull as the main ship hanging above the doorway. Inside is an adorable brick-built organ with white grille tiles as keys. No doubt a nod to Pirates of the Caribbean. The hut's roof looks sufficiently ramshackle and is protected by a pair of cannon, one adorably poking through a hole in the roof. And to me, this looks so similar to the stern of a ship that it must be the implication that this was built from a wreck. I love the wheels on the outdoor cannon, and in a wonderful bit of detail, it has a ramrod, or mop, built with only 3 pieces clipped to the side. I guess it's history lesson time. To load a cannon like this, you must first clean and dry the barrel with wet and dry mops, and then ram the gunpowder and wadding to the back before loading it with the shot. LEGO does claim to be an educational brand. I appreciate the way these two halves connect, with a tile on top of these 2x1 Technic bricks. It does feel flimsy until the hinge plate at the top is connected, but when it's in place, the structure is strong and durable. It reuses the click hinge to clip connection from the hidden treasure chest, and it attaches and releases easily. The clips are green, of course, but the colour blends in nicely with the moss or lichen on the rock walls. It's also great to see a palm tree here, and the designer has done a good job with the extremely limited parts available. Moving around to the back, we see the mouth of a cave, built from black bricks and slopes. It's dark and uninviting. However, the lantern hanging and the single gold coin haphazardly laying on the rock betray the secrets hidden inside, as this is a stash for a huge amount of treasure. Stacks of gold bars and coins, as well as a chest full of gems, and the octopus's green eyes standing in for even more precious stones cover every surface. And the second skull decoration on the wall confirms in my mind that this was salvaged from the wreck of the ship from the main build. Climbing up the ladder on the side, we can access the tower, where on the first floor, the captain's bottle is suspended horizontally, perhaps a nod to the ideas set from 2018. Above that is a writing desk with the map, and the same trick as the main build to make a quill pen. I think this 2x2 tile with studs is meant to be a hatch to access the roof, which has some creative battlements or carcellations and a pair of black flags. Perhaps you can tell from the length of each respective section in the video, but this is easily my favourite of the two alt builds. The tower is built in an interesting way, which leaves a window at the top, and even though it's made from bits of a sail, it's super durable. It looks fantastic with the hinge open, but closing it reveals some ugly colours on the back of the wall. However, that doesn't stop it packing a ton of playability and storytelling into a small footprint. 10 out of 10 alt build. So where does that leave the set as a whole then? Well, I really like it. The downsides of the main build are tantamount to nitpicks, with the only one that could be considered a deal breaker is that you can't buy 2 more cannon and load it up with all 4. The small pair of ships is fine. It's nothing special, it feels generic, but it is serviceable, and having 2 ships to play with is a bonus. The second alt build, in my opinion, is exceptional. Clean up some of the messiness on the back wall, and it would be good enough to be a standalone set. So what do you think? Do you prefer this or the set from 2020? I look forward to talking about it with you in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more LEGO content. I'll see you next time.